suppose another people. Call to order. Can I get the roll call, please?
Councilmember Luis Cabrera. Councilmember Africa Luna Carrasco. Councilmember Jose Ponce.
Present.
Councilmember Matias Rosales. Councilmember Gloria Torres.
Present.
Vice Mayor Mario Buchanan Junior.
Present.
Mayor Gerardo Sanchez.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Can we all stand for the pledge of allegiance? Councilmember Ponce, could you lead us to the pledge of allegiance, please? To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and go with the item number 3A proclamation, the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, October 2022. Sonia?
Whereas we recognize the vital role that technology has in our daily lives and our future, whereby today many citizens, schools, businesses, and City of San Luis operations rely on various means of technology for a variety of tasks, including public safety communications, finances, and day-to-day operations. And whereas internet users and our information infrastructure face an increasing threat of malicious cyber attack, significant financial and personal privacy losses due to the identity theft and fraud. And whereas public awareness can help foster change in a way that provides greater cybersecurity awareness for all. And whereas to have a resilient cybersecurity stance requires the understanding and support of citizens and public officials that demand distinction in cybersecurity and cyber awareness. And whereas the observance of National Cybersecurity Awareness Month 2022 allows us to publicly acknowledge the numerous notable contributions made by all IT security professionals of the City of San Luis and all those who assist in upholding and defending IT resources, and offer our deep appreciation for the uncompromising commitment to public service by these professionals. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Gerardo Sanchez, Mayor of the City of San Luis, Arizona, does hereby proclaim October 2022 as National Cybersecurity Awareness Month and encourages all citizens to participate in this observance, dated this 19th day of October 2022.
I just want to say that over the years, over the past 10 years, we've seen our cybersecurity increase dramatically. We've seen, and we all know that we are all vulnerable. Perfect example was the hospital last year. We were basically dysfunctional. We were dysfunctional for 2 days. The hospital was in chaos. We were basically working off paper. Fortunately for me, I do have the knowledge of working with paper. I kind of missed it, so it was easy for me. But yeah, they got hacked. It was amazing how the governor jumped in. They brought in new servers, they brought in everything, and they removed everything and started from scratch. So I got so much credit, so much respect for IT. We're always blaming IT for everything. Our computer's not working and it's always about IT. My phone is not working, it's IT. Councilman Torres received an email from me this weekend, and the first people we called is IT. Okay. I never, ever, ever send you an email. I will call you first. Okay. So if you ever get an email from me asking for help or asking for a business meeting, it's not me. Okay, time to call IT. And I respect that. It's amazing the job you do on an everyday basis. Cybersecurity is now becoming the forte of computer science. And we have invested hundreds of thousands, in my opinion, with servers and everything else. And now I believe we had 3 IT people before. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's amazing. I probably need like 9. And I know. and a van.
In the van. Yeah,
Don't want to forget that van.
Never gonna forget the van, man.
So see, when a slightly used van, you guys can also use it. So thank you guys. I really appreciate for hard work and dedication to the city. You're the heart of the city. You make sure that we're safe in regards to cyber technology, and I really appreciate it. And I think we should all respect your position, and I think it's probably one of the most valuable positions here in the city. So thank you, gracias, so much for what you do. So let's take a picture, guys. Come on.
Acá, para acá. Centro, fuerte siempre. Probably. Yo creo que centro. Está en lo alto, abajo. Ay, porque en el más alto acá está. Ándale.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and go with item number 4A, discussion and possible action on matters regarding resolution number 2234. The resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of San Luis, Arizona, approving a memorandum of understanding with MOY Farming Company LLC concerning proposed lot split of a parcel bounded by Avenue D and a half, County 2.5 Street, Avenue D, and Avenue 25th Street. Fernando Villegas, principal planner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and city council members. The applicant is requesting a lot split to create a new 40-acre parcel. The parcel is gonna be located on the northwest corner of County 25th Street and Avenue D, north of Magrino Industrial Subdivision. The city of San Luis subdivision regulations do not allow lot splits that require right-of-way dedication, utility extensions, or off-site improvements. For this reason, the purpose of this memorandum of understanding is to allow the applicant to split the property to establish a heavy truck parking business on the property. The MOU, if it's approved today, the right-of-way dedication will allow the applicant to split the property, and the dedication of the right-of-way will be done during the lot split process, and public improvements will be done prior to establishing the new business or the new use on the property. The applicant is proposing not to build sidewalks along Avenue D and County 25th adjacent to the new proposed parcel. However, if the owner does a change of use not allowed by the MOU, the owner will be required to build the sidewalk. This is just a summary of the memorandum of understanding. I don't know if any of the council members or the mayor has any questions for staff. But the purpose of the approval of this MOU is to allow the applicant to split and establish a new use on the property.
So regarding the sidewalks, so they do not want to build the sidewalks. They want the future owner to build the sidewalks.
The,
No matter what, someone's going to build the sidewalks.
okay,
That's what you're telling me.
the existing or the new owner will be responsible for building the sidewalks only if they change to a use that is not listed here in the MOU. Right now, they will be allowed to use the property for a warehouse, for heavy truck parking storage, If they use it for something not listed here, the new owner or the existing owner will be required to build
Okay.
sidewalk.
Okay,
So when they come to pull a permit to build that warehouse, they're not gonna be required to build a sidewalk.
That's
That's what
correct.
you're saying.
And they have 2 years to get the permit.
so the new owners have 2 years to get the permit.
But if they build a warehouse for that use, they wouldn't build the sidewalk.
Mhm.
And if they don't build the sidewalks and 5 years from now this changes, who builds sidewalks at that end? When this grows and we start getting this area populated, like Montiano Park or the other industrial park or the,
Okay,
Example.
after the 2 years, it's not, I think this MOU is no longer valid. And they will be required to comply with all the requirements, subdivision requirements, public works standards, all the improvements.
unless he builds.
Unless within the 2 years, they ask for a building permit, for example, for a warehouse, no sidewalks will be required. But if they change the use in the future of that building to something else, then the new owner will be required to build it.
So let's go to the worst case scenario. They build something in a year and a half, they have a warehouse, they don't change the use, 5 years from now, the rest of the areas grow. And people are asking for sidewalks. Who will pay for the sidewalks at that time?
Okay, if they don't change the use, they don't do anything to the property, remains the same, the city will be required in that case scenario to build the sidewalk if we don't want to wait until something happens. Like a subdivision inside the property, improvements that are gonna require additional improvements. If nothing changes, it's gonna remain with no sidewalks from Avenue D all the way a quarter of a mile north. And from County 15, it's exactly 1/4 of a mile. So in total, it's a half a mile of no sidewalk.
Mr. Vera, what would be the estimate cost of sidewalks for per quarter of a mile
Right now,
right now? Sorry to put you on the spot, but since you're in the engineer.
while he does that calculation.
So just a sidewalk.
Not the curbing, just the sidewalk?
Yeah, well, and that's really the challenge, that it's really not that simple to just remove the sidewalk, so it will be roughly around $3,000, I think, if I did it right.
No, what the-
3,000?
that's no.
Can you build the
Add a
sidewalk
zero- add a
around my
zero to
house?
that Probably.
Oh, yeah,
You got a 0 or 2 there, homie.
60,000.
Yeah, that makes more
Yeah,
sense.
I forgot one multiplication.
It's okay.
So that's the sidewalk, about 16,000, that's 5-foot wide sidewalks. Roughly, I mean, prices vary, but the challenge is that to put in sidewalk, you have to put in the curb. And I think for the curb, you're probably looking at about the same amount to put in the curb. And then when you add curb, you have control drainage. You have to provide retention basins, catch basins, storm drain. So usually, that's why when it's originally designed, those are the areas that need to be covered up as part of the design. So if not properly planned, if we come down 5 years, 10 years down the road, we put sidewalks curb, we're gonna probably be looking to maybe purchase land for drainage. If we don't get it now, those are just things that we have to make sure we get during the site plan review and approval.
Yeah, I misread that earlier when I saw when I was studying the agenda. I thought the MOU meant that the establishment was not gonna do it, but then when the new owner applied for permit, he would have to do the sidewalks at the time. But if we're doing an MOU, if he's opening a warehouse, that's the part that I have a big concern with in regards to he never changes the use and we have other parcels that get developed and his is only with a sidewalk there down the road. I mean, and that's the part that I see. Let me ask you this, have we done other lot splits without this, but the other ones that we've done have been with lot splits that eventually when they do the permit process, they do the sidewalks, right? The rest of them.
From my recollection, I think this would be the first one that we wouldn't be requiring them to put sidewalks. They've always, I think the other ones have been deferred for improvements, and that's the reason of the MOU, so the improvements are covered. They have to put in the improvements when they do the development of the site.
So this will be a first that we're adding that if he's using it for a warehouse,
This will be the first removing the sidewalk
yeah,
or curb.
we're setting a precedent.
What was the reason?
I think if it's okay, I'll pass that on to the developer to explain
Yes, please.
the request.
Yeah, okay. Was this done, the city did this based on their request? I mean, why are we changing overnight?
Well, the intent of the applicant is to do a lot split, to establish this new use. And there's no way we can allow the lot split without the MOU. Because the subdivision regs don't give us the ability to approve the lot split.
Uh,
So that's the reason behind this. We have to bring this to council for approval, otherwise we'll not be able to split.
I think the mayor was asking the MOU in regards to the exception that if the person
Yes.
that's purchasing that's gonna have a warehouse and you keep it within 2 years, that section, was that added at the request of the,
Yeah, the applicant requested that.
so that's
yes.
where we need that explanation.
I want to clarify that because the way I'm understanding is that the city is actually yielding or not yielding, but actually making this for the first time. So we're setting precedents for future developments in the future. Since we do this once, people are going to expect it to be done again.
Like I said, I myself don't have any issues with doing the lot split without the sidewalks, but as long as, when the building permit gets done, it gets done, but that's the part that I'm having an issue with.
I have no problem, for example, requiring people that whoever purchases or designs or future design for them to build the sidewalks.
As required by everybody else.
Yeah, as required by everyone else.
Can we get an explanation or some idea or maybe some background to this? Because
Yes, please.
Good evening.
Uh-huh.
So when this first came up, my experience, this is an industrial development. This property is all zone industrial,
Mhm.
all the way from D to E, okay? My experience, when you have sidewalks in industrial development, they just get torn up all the time by the truckers. You don't have sidewalks in the Magrino Park. You don't have in sidewalks on the Southwest Industrial Park.
You don't?
Mm-mm. Only on the commercial part, not on the industrial part. So, when I realized that that was on there, you didn't require the Port Authority to put sidewalks on the other side of County 25th. In fact, you didn't even require them to finish the road. That road there is only 26 feet wide. They didn't even finish their part of the road to go into their subdivision. On that path, you know, when we put in our stuff on the north side, we'll have to put in our half of the road. Okay,
You're correct there, I believe,
Yeah.
but the difference is that we're adding that MOU here where not even the purchaser is gonna have to put it when they develop the parcel. That's the difference.
but if you're comparing apples to apples, you should have required the Port Authority to put sidewalks on their side of County 25th. Correct? But the one thing that I want to point out is when you have sidewalks in industrial area and big trucks, and you know that after 2 years, the city is responsible for maintenance of that stuff, I can tell you, you're gonna be repairing sidewalks all the time. And I have experience with this out in the Mesa del Sol subdivision, where we had, where the trucks from, that used to be called Barney's, I don't know what it is now.
Mhm, yeah.
But Barney's used to come over and park on our empty land, which we had developed as a commercial subdivision.
Mhm.
And they didn't care. They would just go over the sidewalk and park. I can't tell you how many times that we had to replace sidewalks. And now the county is having to replace those sidewalks. all the time. And that's my biggest concern is the maintenance of it. It's gonna cost you a lot more to maintain them than if you ever have to put it in. The other thing is that I don't think that you want to encourage pedestrian walking on County 25th. I think that it's an industrial area, and I don't think that you want that, to be a part of it, because it's gonna be, if your intent is that, we're gonna have a lot of trucks, you keep telling me that you're gonna have a lot of trucks. You don't want to encourage pedestrians on that, on County 25th. This is only for County 25th, okay? And up on D to just that, quarter of a mile, okay? The rest of it will all have sidewalks. Even on, we're agreeing to sidewalks on where we're doing another subdivision,
Mhm.
an industrial subdivision, but we are agreeing to sidewalks because part of it in the back of it, or all along the side of it is commercial. So we do want the continuity of the sidewalk. The only thing I don't want to do on that subdivision, I mean, I'm getting fair, is I don't want to go north on Avenue D because it's a sidewalk to nowhere. And
Right now.
well, it will always be a
Yeah.
sidewalk to nowhere, because
I
are you
know.
guys gonna go in and put a sidewalk by the sewer plant, and are you gonna put a sidewalk where the prison is? And then it ends, right?
Mhm.
So
I have-
those are
Mm,
areas
that's
that
true.
you don't want to encourage pedestrian,
Well,
so that's my main objection. Because I have over the course of my career, have replaced a lot of sidewalks because of the big trucks. And that's my concern.
and I did ask that question myself to staff as well. You bring up some great points.
Mhm.
And I asked myself the same question to staff is what's cheaper to replace sidewalks as we need them as it grows or maintain them, if they start breaking?
Mhm.
And I mean, obviously that's a hard number to get.
Mhm.
I also went ahead and reflected on our industrial park here in town, which might be a little bit different dynamic right now because of the traffic that we have because of the population, but
Mhm.
again, a lot of that stuff has been reutilized and now you have a lot of foot traffic, people that bought those lots or developed them. The employees get off and they're using those sidewalks to walk. So future growth is the part I think we can't control as well as you. Right now, we agree that it doesn't need it. I see the point, but what happens in 5 years?
But
Now-
then why didn't you require? them to
Right,
get
let me finish going back to you. I agree with you now that I'm thinking about it. Magrino Park doesn't have sidewalks on the inside of the perimeters of their lots.
Mhm.
But the developers, when they're building, they do have that requirement. Here, my concern is that we're adding that exception that if this gentleman that's buying the lot
Mhm.
decides to keep it, build a permit in 2 years, before 2 years and keeps it that way for 50 years, we're never gonna be able to get the sidewalks unless the city's paying for it at that time. So that's the only part I have. In regards to County 25th on the opposite end, I agree with you, there was nothing required. But again, on 25th, and I actually found out myself recently that that's our land, because there's the canal, I always assumed that belonged to. So maybe that's why that requirement, because the canal divided it from there. But it is changing now, so eventually that's gonna be a cost to the city because it wasn't required.
Mhm.
So that's what I think we're trying to avoid. I agree with you on County 25th, that's something that down the road when it gets developed and if we're getting the right of way for the future expansion as we've discussed,
Mhm.
I appreciate that and that's what we're looking for.
Mhm.
My only concern is on Avenue D. If he does build something in the rest of the parcels to your north, it's just,
Well, the rest of the
Yeah.
parcel to the north is now, residential. And we will build sidewalks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we.
but
will
that
build
piece won't
sidewalks.
have it there. What's that stretch? 132 feet or whatever it is?
Mhm.
No, I'm blind, but whatever that section is.
Mhm.
So I think, that might be the compromise, just Alpha Avenue D, if he does his development, have him do that piece.
Mhm.
Because again, you're driving into a new street, you always get residents complaining to us, hey, how come our cities don't have this like the other cities? Because again, when they develop thinking 10, 15 years and the stuff is there and aesthetically it looks more pleasing.
Mhm.
Maybe the compromise is gonna be Avenue D, I agree with you on County 25th, because again, that's gonna be blown up. I'll use a good example, Cesar Chavez. There's pieces that have sidewalk that don't, because in the past they allowed that, and people complain that it looks unappealing because you drive into the city and all you see is dirt, some sidewalks. So I think that's what we're trying to avoid.
Sure,
But-
and I can
yeah,
understand and I
yeah,
appreciate that,
yeah.
and that's why, and I have a love for this city.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do anything that's going to compromise that. But I just also have a lot of experience with these trucks,
Yeah, no, I agree, but they
And-
break.
and
uh,
I- and I
Residential, they
know,
break, yeah.
you know,
yeah,
and then, and the city's gonna have to be responsible for it.
yeah. Which we
and-
have been.
I mean, even on, if you look on Avenue E, where we put in sidewalks along.
Yeah, I
um,
saw that there.
You know, on there,
Yeah,
yeah, they're like this
Yeah.
all the time. So that's unsightly, you know, and then the sand is covering them up, you know? So,
I guess the question is, the person that's buying, is he gonna build something in those 2 years or not?
pardon?
Is he gonna submit plans within 2 years? I guess that's the gamble that we're taking.
Yeah, you guys are responsible for it now.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. So
That's what I mean.
That's what I'm saying. So,
That's what I mean.
so that's why on this purchaser, maybe, do you think you guys could compromise at least Avenue D at least? I mean,
Okay, so if you put it on Avenue D,
because if we're not just talking about the sidewalks go along with the curbing for the drainage and
Right,
all that stuff
yeah.
that eventually will be needed.
right,
Or maybe or I don't know if we could do an escrow holdback where the estimated amount gets held and in the future when it's needed, the money's there to do it.
mhm.
I mean,
Well, I think that where we're doing our subdivision on the north of that, we're not going to encourage walkability around there. The walkability that we're going to do is gonna be within the subdivision where there'll be sidewalks. We don't want kids riding their bicycles on Avenue D. To me, that encourages that, and I think that we need to focus where we do the subdivision is have the walkability. But outside of it, you don't want them where there's big trucks.
That would be that would be the perfect world.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
electric fence, the
I
whole
mean,
works.
you're not gonna be able to stop at 100%.
yeah.
There's no
course.
question, you
Yeah.
know,
Of course.
but you want to make it more difficult for them to be,
Mhm.
you know, to be out there.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
I have one more other point. In the agreement, it also calls for an additional right of way. They want Avenue D to be 100 feet, okay? In our agreement, it is 80 feet, okay? In our pre-annexation agreement, it is 80 feet. My proposal is that we leave it at the 80 feet because we don't exactly know what's gonna go on the east side.
Yeah.
But I will put it in writing. I give you my word that if at that time we need to expand Avenue D to 100 feet, which I don't foresee it because on 80 feet, you have 2 lanes and you have enough room for a turn lane with the 80 feet. But if we see that it needs it, then we will commit to giving the land on the east
On
side,
the west side, on the east side, right?
on the east side. And, we'll have to, move the section line, which is fine with us.
Okay.
But at this time, I just don't see the need for an additional 100 feet. I mean, for additional 20 feet to make that road.
And,
Okay,
and I
we-
talked to staff about that, and again, it goes back to the question of what in the future is gonna happen.
Right.
But, and that was one of the solutions that Tom and Tom, right? Tom, your engineer,
Mhm.
that we were talking about earlier, and he said, if in the future we could give the east side instead of touching the west side.
Yep.
If you could get that in writing and do an MOU and make sure that happens, I mean, that part makes sense completely.
Yeah.
I agree with you on County 25th as well, and
Mhm.
because eventually if we do develop that road, it's gonna be a two-lane road,
Mhm.
but all that traffic. that
Well,
we're
and
looking
there,
yeah.
we've already agreed that
Yeah.
that would be 100
Right.
feet.
for, right,
Where there becomes conflict is, and I think it probably wasn't caught and, I didn't notice it. I don't think any of you guys noticed it. They wanted to increase like 24th to all of a sudden now it became instead of 100, which was in our annexation agreement, to 110. But,
I think that's
Then-
a standard,
then-
isn't it,
then
right
you-
now?
then you
One,
have-
110, I think is a standard already for our subdivision
mhm.
policies. So they actually reduced it to 100 for that.
200
Yeah, so,
because of that.
yeah, yeah.
And so, and on County 25th, if you were to go in there and piece it, it will come directly from our property because of the canal to the south.
Well, let me ask you a question. Maybe that's why I'm confused that she brought up the Magrino Park. We're not asking for sidewalks, but if whoever develops this parcel with their warehouse, are they still gonna have to do the curbing? The
Yes,
curbing is, okay.
Curbing is in.
Okay, so maybe that's the part
curbing
that
is in there. Yeah, no, curbing still has to be there.
okay,
No, we didn't take out the curbing.
okay. So the curbing will still have to be done
Curbing
and
has
that's
to
for the
be done.
water flow control and so on forth.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
curbing
I
still
guess that
has to
makes
be in
sense,
there.
because that matches up with Magrino and.
Sí, claro que sí.
And down the road.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But Mr. Rivera, you had some comments.
He's taking a nap. We woke up early. this
Oh, no. No naps here.
I just want to clarify. So for example, on the inside of industrial subdivisions, we don't require sidewalk. It's a standard. We don't require standards inside the subdivision.
Okay.
It's a standard.
It's a standard. So.
So it's not that we forgot. It's not that we don't require it. It's just a standard.
It's a standard. Yeah, Magrino doesn't have.
Okay,
sidewalk
for
inside.
clarification. Okay.
But for clarification also along those lines, on Southwest subdivision,
Yeah,
right?
mhm.
Not the entire subdivision is industrial there. So we have commercial and industrial. And the industrial portion does have sidewalk on the perimeter. And that's like commercial. And then in the industrial, it was an oversight from our side to require the sidewalk on 24th. But inside they don't have sidewalk. But we have that gap right now that the city will have to put in. I just want to mention that from history from my predecessors, I remember that the reason County 25th was developed the way it is now is because it was the work in conjunction with the county and some grants to get that roadway in. So that was all the money they had in to get that connection to Magrino. And then,
That was
but
like
it-
20 years ago.
no, it was built around, yeah, probably
About
close
10
to 8, 10 years, something like that.
I've been here 10 years. I don't remember that during my time.
It
but
was
the
beyond my
city-
time,
But the city,
14, 16 years.
okay, so maybe before
Yeah,
that.
because
then.
I've been on
16 years.
council, I'm going on 10 years and that was before me when it was already built, so.
So 16 years and I don't remember that one.
Okay, and then the city did put in a water line there as well, for the same reasons.
Right.
And I think the other thing was on the right of way side, the city will be looking at getting the other half, the other 50 feet to the south. Currently, we have 33.
Right.
That way we can get the full 100-foot right of way.
And
So the discussion is 110 or 100?
Okay, so the.
Please clarify.
Sorry?
Yeah, please clarify, yeah. Because she's talking 80, you're talking,
No, that's all different.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page here.
Okay, so on the construction standards, it's
Same.
100 for arterials.
Okay.
In the subdivision regs and zoning, it says 110.
This is,
So-
the issue, this is an arterial road.
So at a minimum, that's what we've been telling Ms. Carpenter is that we need 100 because they are arterial. And we really can't foresee or project exactly how things are going to develop down.
Let me comment on that foresee. People did not foresee the city of San Luis growing up to like 42,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so I foresee the city of San Luis growing up to 80, 90,000 in 10 years.
Well, that's why I like her.
So
idea that
just to let you
if
know.
if Ms. Carpenter puts it in writing that to the east side, they'll be able to make up the difference of the 20 feet in the future when it's needed.
Yeah.
We have that protection as well.
because we,
Yeah.
even on our subdivision that we're working on, to the north of this property, we always planned 80 because that was what was in our agreement.
Okay.
And so, so those plans are already done, going to be submitted in the next week or so.
Okay.
So, that would require whole engineering to go back and change it and stuff like that. That's why I would rather commit to if it's going to be required, or if there is going to be a need, and we have to understand that that road is always going to only be 1 mile. Because you're not going to go, I don't foresee, and I don't think it's in your plan,
No.
that you are going to allow Avenue D to go to the area service highway. Because my understanding is that you cannot have another access.
Oh,
on
no,
it.
ADOT said already they wouldn't
Yeah.
allow that, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be just 1 mile.
But at least a beautiful 1 mile.
Yeah, it would be 1 mile.
That's, what we want the city
With
to look,
trees.
we want to provide our residents
Sure.
the
and-
feel of living in Avondale and And,
And I completely understand that. And I said that I do. I have much love for this city.
Yeah.
And I want to see it done properly. And,
So are we gonna get a construction permit requested within the next 2 years?
oh, yes, and you should see it. I mean, our plan is to, close escrow, in the next, probably 20 days, if not sooner. This is a trucking company that's international.
Okay.
They will provide jobs. It has the possibility of bringing in, ancillary businesses.
But see, that's the issue that worries us because,
Yeah. But
then-
of this, but it's they're not going to be commercial.
yeah,
It's going to be industrial.
but they still have employees that have to park somewhere and all
Yeah.
that. And hopefully, I mean, I hate to bring up ADI compliance and all that
Mhm.
stuff. So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
If we're talking about to the east side of town,
Mhm.
that if, depending on how it develops in the future, the additional 20 feet that we need, you'll be willing to provide that from the land.
Mhm.
But if, depending on what goes on
Goes
that
on there,
land,
yeah.
at that time, would you be willing to also, I guess, commit or agree to that if it's needed at that time, the sidewalks that are pending on that stretch, if it needs to be done, we could work together to get that done, depending on what goes on the east side, because what happens if you end up building commercial or residential in that east side parcel?
Yeah.
I mean,
And then at time we would comply with all of the regulations that are, that are required for those type of subdivisions.
Okay, all right.
You know, if it becomes something other than industrial.
Okay.
Then,
We go by the requirement.
We would
Okay.
comply with the requirements.
now, it's just for the record, Mayor, I know I've been talking
Mhm.
about that, sorry, guys. This, and I appreciate, because we're having a special council meeting for this,
Yes,
and
I
my understanding was
appreciate you
important.
guys coming too.
For the record, because I like to applaud staff when it's needed, when did this request arrive to you guys? Informally, in writing to get this done,
Probably 6 weeks ago.
6 weeks or last week?
No,
actual
So
request
let
and-
me, it got bumped from last week's council meeting. It was scheduled to be on last week's council meeting. And my request was just for sidewalks
Okay.
at the time. I, didn't ask for anything else. The request back had like 6 other items
Okay.
that they wanted me to do. And I said, that's when the 80 feet versus the 100 feet
Yeah.
was thrown at me. And this was only like a week and a half ago.
Yeah, and that's why I want to applaud them, because I mean, normally, they're,
Mhm.
we always hear in the public that we're not pro-development, we don't like to work with developers, but this is another example that we work it when staff works hard and they're
Right.
able to do what they need to do.
And so, yes,
Yeah,
and I
so-
appreciate the
yeah.
staff meeting with me. I mean, we've had it, as a result, when I've got the first email from Glenn with the, with those proposals,
Yeah,
I called the next morning.
Of course, of course.
So, and the staff has been great to, to meet with me and work with me and try to get this resolved.
Hmm.
So, and I had thought that we were gonna put the 80 feet and versus 100 feet on a different issue, but 2 days ago, when I got the memorandum, it was still on there. I decided, okay, I'm just gonna come talk to the city council.
Okay.
So,
Agree. I have no
Okay.
problem.
I have a problem at this
Does anyone have
point.
any questions,
And,
concerns?
and I will tell you that, we're excited to have this start happening, to see some, we've been trying to do some stuff for, 10 years to
Yeah.
get some, stuff like this going. And I'm excited that, that this is happening, that it will be drawn
course.
to the area. And, it should be beneficial.
I see Fernando over there, either confused, curious, or smiling because he has direct.
No, just one comment, Mayor and City Council, is that you have the ability to make any changes to the MOU and that. I don't have any.
I have no problems with it. It's how it stands right now.
For motion purposes, do we need to add anything in regards to the commitment of the east side parcels, or that's something separately you guys will be working out? Or as long as what was discussed is come to agreements, is that the way the motion?
The motion, the way it is just straight
For the resolution that's in place right now?
the
Okay.
resolution and the way the MOU is right now. But you're free to,
But we can have that additional verbiage in regards to
Yeah.
the 80, because this is what we're talking about on the MOU is the 80 to the future 20 feet that you need on the east side, correct, Steph? Right. Adding the 20 feet for future development or whatever from the east side parcel.
Right, and Elizabeth can correct me, but I think that's what you're saying, right? You're okay. Well, actually, you don't want the 100 on Avenue D, you want to keep it at 80. And you're willing to give the additional 20 from the east side of the section line down the road, depending on how that square mile develops.
Right. And I think at that time, we would also be required to do a traffic study. And that traffic study will tell us, hey, this needs to be 100 foot, or the traffic is not going to be such that it really doesn't. So
Yeah.
I think at that time, we can make that.
I don't
decision.
think that will work that way.
No, no, usually the traffic study will recommend additional right of way. Let's say we need turn lanes or such improvements to accommodate the use of the site. I think, really the 100 feet was mainly trying to be consistent with our standards and what we've been requiring around there. I think one of the reasons that it was originally planned as 80 feet, because, it was being seen as a collector. And that was the original request, to amend the, pre-annexation agreement.
Mhm.
And then, we ended up splitting into the pre-annexation agreement modifications to come down the road. And then we split the MOU to be able to process and move forward with the law split based on the scheduling.
The first time I heard that Avenue D was changed from what we thought was, I guess, a collector road to an arterial road was 2 week and a half ago.
Oh.
I never knew that that was going to be anything different than what was in our pre-annexation agreement. So,
Stuff changes fast.
I know.
Too fast sometimes.
I mean, you look, you got a rebuttal on that one?
No, no,
I want to hear what, I'm interested now.
no, and really, we don't know why it was a quality collector. Our general plan, the previous one was also an arterial. And this one that we have now is also an arterial, but we just don't know why it
Why it
was
was a
considered a collector.
And again, I mean, you have engineers, you have everybody and everybody misses it and now it gets caught and,
Yeah.
Like Forrest Gump says, it's happened.
Yeah.
So,
So you want to change the language or do you want to, what was your proposal?
well, number one, just to clarify, we are getting curves.
Yes.
We're okay with if this purchaser, the MOU basically says if he does something within the next 2 years, he's off the hook on the sidewalk, but if he does not do anything in 2 years, bye-bye. Okay,
It goes away.
so the only thing we have to do on this motion is, for example, I'm doing a motion, I move to approve and adopt resolution number 2234 with the added verbiage of the east side parcel easement, if needed, to be modified by staff and legal or whatever needs to be added, if it needs to be added to this MOU. Yes, no? I think it-
Yes, that would be something like
Yeah.
that. But you had mentioned something about maybe requiring sidewalks if the use across the street changed.
Again, but that would be part of
That could be part
the
of
development.
that Subdivision
But
for
you-
the east side.
But usually that's only on the side facing the development. It wouldn't cover the across the street.
But we could do that.
Okay,
I don't have a
all right,
problem
as
with
stated.
that.
That was my motion. So get the recording there.
yeah,
So I guess it would be keeping the Avenue D right away between 24th and 25th to 80 feet.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And to be determined if it could be modified to 100 in the future, if
She has her commitment.
her
Yes.
commitment that it will be changed to 100 feet on the east side of the section line, if it's required by the city based on development needs.
Mhm.
Is that fair
Yeah,
enough?
that's fair enough.
And then, sidewalk on said parcel along Avenue D might be a future requirement if change on the east side of the section line of Avenue D changes to
Residential, whatever,
And-
commercial.
And that will be a
Commercial as well?
requirement to put those sidewalks in of that development.
Right.
Okay.
That work?
Okay.
You got clarification there? But you gotta record it, right?
We'll go to the
Yeah.
recording.
We got to recording, but, so I made that motion. Anyone want a second?
Now, could you, for clarification, what exactly was the motion? I just want to make sure. Because then someone's
I
gonna,
move to approve and adopt resolution
Thank
number 2234 with the following changes. Commitment from the landowner of the right of way to the east side parcels in the future if needed for the additional 20 feet. the requirement of the sidewalks if needed, if the usage change to the east side land development in the future. And to include this said parcel, and what was the last thing? That was it? That was
That
it?
was it.
That was it?
I second that motion. There's a motion and there's a second. Got it? Legal got it?
Staff got it,
Counsel?
developer got it?
I got it.
All right, landowner got it?
City staff, understand? Very good.
We all got it. All right.
Mayor, I was gonna ask something to.
Oh, please.
that,
No, we're not gonna take a
go
vote.
ahead.
We're not gonna take a
Uh,
vote until.
Well, just a quick question. I mean, are you guys, Mr. Vera and Mr. Villegas, are you guys recommending this 100%? I mean, that's what I want to
Yeah,
know.
no, that's fine.
If you guys are, recommending this, are you, committed to recommend this, resolution?
So I wouldn't recommend the motion, then removing the sidewalks, just to be consistent. But I do see the issues, that Ms. Carpenter mentioned. And it seems that this is something that she really wants it this way to make this, development happen.
Yeah.
But I usually would stick to being consistent and requiring sidewalk.
I was gonna say, but
Inside,
inside.
outside it's required because it's part of the arterial cross-section.
But here we're making the exception because of County 25th issues down the road. That's the reason we're making the exception.
It's a 1 mile.
Yeah.
And the city has to
Yeah.
do, to mention our part to put sidewalks or whatever
Right.
improvements on the south side.
So I think that's where the miscommunication was. They're not talking about the inside sidewalk and avenue. They were talking more about the County 25th requirement because it is at the end, that's where you build the wall and hide the view and.
Yeah, that's why we reworded, it's for the perimeter of streets, the arterial roads, inside, no sidewalks, it's the standard.
You want to go for it? You want to recommend it?
Sorry.
You want to you're recommending this, resolution?
I do recommend the solution that was proposed with the modifications versus not seeing this development happen.
Beginning to sound like a politician, Mr. Engineer. You've learned very well. Estamos bien?
Okay.
There's a motion on the floor. Ms. Torres, any questions, concerns? No? Okay. There was a motion, there was a second. All is in favor? Aye. All is against? Motion carries. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. So move. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion, there's a second. All is in favor?
Aye.
All is
Aye.
against? Motion carries. Have a good night, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I got a message.